All right, there we go. Mic is on. I'm back. Well, been gone for a few days. Nothing important. Just swapping around schedule a bit. The previous 6 to 9 a.m. morning stuff didn't really work out as well as I hoped. So now we're working on a new schedule. So now it's going to be roughly 9 till midnight. We'll see. I might swap that around a bit, but at least we'll try it for a few months at least to see what I can get. All right. So today we're working on a new model. The previous 3 or 4 sessions, maybe even 5 sessions, we're working on a rock in ZBrush. It was a full pipeline. So we started in ZBrush with a regular shape, worked all the way through Blender with low polys, with UV mapping into Substance Painter, and finished off in Unreal, where unfortunately I ran into some issues with the import. So that stream ended up in it didn't end at the best conclusion, or so to say. So I had to sit afterwards. I couldn't let it go really. So I spent actually it only took me 20 minutes afterwards to figure out what it was, or rather I figured out something and made it work. And what I did was purely export again. Well, first I deleted the old asset inside Unreal. I did then a reset of the import settings after I first sent a new static mesh from Blender. Then I reset the import settings once that pop-up window showed up. And that solved everything. So I'm not sure why the previous import didn't work. Hey, it is what it is. This is game development. This is 3D modeling. This is what it usually is, in which it's a lot of these weird and quirky stuff happening. But who knows? Either way, we're going to get into this straight away, because I don't see any reason why I should just stand here, or sit rather, and just chat. So I'd rather do that while working. We're going to swap over to Blender. And in Blender, we're going to start working with these types of references. Let's see if I can get you down. So the idea what we're having, or I want to work on, is this lantern. It's an old type of lantern. I assume it's either like, what we would call it, some kind of burnable fluid. Not sure what it is. Lantern oil comes to mind. It could be something else. Name kind of eludes me right now, but there's another one. Flammable fluid. So we're going to work on these. Some of these are actually, I believe, already 3D models of someone else's work. But I don't think that's going to be an issue, because I kind of like what they look like. And it's not meant to be a perfect replica of a in-life version. It's just, I do like what I'm looking at, what I see, all the details. So I'm going to work with this to recreate. Let's see, what could this be? Sure. What those details are, but we're going to look. I think this one is going to be the main reference we're going to work with. So I'm going to push this to the side like this, and let's start. So what I need, looking at this, well, the simplest solution will be, or the simplest answer to that question would be a cylinder. So let's start with a cylinder, and I do like a bit more vertices initially. I like to work with even numbers, at least numbers I can divide. Well, I can divide most even numbers with 2 or all even numbers, with either 2 or 4. For example, 32, 16, 8, and 4. Let's try a 32. I think that could be enough for this model. Yep. Next, let's move this up. We can do that through 2 divide. Let's just do 1. I have to do any complicated math. Next, I still do that. No, I can't. So let's just use this while we can. I had no idea the size of the lantern. We're gonna have to do some guessing. I mean, a lantern would be what? Should be able to like grab it like this, right? So what could that be? Like 15 centimeters, maybe 20. So if radius is 2.2, depth, isn't that the height? Why would it be called depth? I don't know. Let's do something that kind of works for me. I'm looking to the side here on my reference, kind of gauging top part, not the small cylinder on the top. You know what we could do? Might be more interesting. That is, we'd actually have the reference in Blender like this. That would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it? All right. Now looking at this, seems like there's a small dip, but we're going to focus on this part. So I'm on this side down to, I assume about this part, right? Yeah, so 0.7 meters, that's quite tall. That's insane, isn't it? Maybe these numbers are quite insane because they had the handle, right? So if you look at the handle will be roughly like this. So let's go with slightly above 2.5 fists. Very mathematical stuff. That would make, let's do this one, 2, 3, and U of course needs to be quite smaller. I'm not super worried about perfect measurements. At this stage, I kind of like the idea of just grabbing something that looks pleasing rather than correct. All right, I think I will go with that. And next, let's increase the scale. Grab the Z. Actually, just do that. Next, I would say the next part are these. Trying to figure out. Okay, so it looks like there's a small cube inside. Well, yeah. Or rather than a cube, perhaps it's more. No, it definitely looks like a cube. The each side contains the class. From this part, it goes. Okay, that makes sense. You have a small cage, but it's connected to each side. All right, let's actually go back to this and let's add a edge. This section above seems shorter than the bottom one, so we're going to go with something like that. Perhaps this is roughly twice that height, so I'll go with this. Let's separate these. I do for now. It looks like there's a small lip, or rather, let's not show what's called. That's going to be a pain in the ass to do a high poly on. That's later on. Let's do this. And this is halfway, so let's say that's, what could it be? It could be 1/6, something like that. And 32 divided by 6 will be, 8, right? So again, I'm not doing super science measurements. Let's go with that. Kind of looks like there's actually an inside cylinder. Guess that makes sense. So if this is then the outside casing, these, not sure what those are yet. We'll see. Not sure if they are holes or if they're just kind of way to not sure. Actually, so we'll leave those for now. But we're going to create that inner. So let's duplicate this, separate you. And from the top, I'm going to create a very... Actually, that didn't work at all. Let's do this. Can I see better from here? I can. I'm going to give myself enough space so that once I do the high poly, hopefully this part will show. Which, yeah. And let's move you up. Do I now have line down? So let's go with bounding. Let's go with vertex. Move you up. Let's see what we have to work with. Thinking, for the sake of just visualization, let's add a solid modifier to this. All right, there you go. Something along these lines. Let's do 15. Go back, refine this one a bit more. Prefer to exaggerate the details slightly. So once the high poly R is baked, those details are baked, we hopefully will get more. I mean, it will hopefully be shown a lot better. You can see it a lot better in the baking process. All right, so question now. Can't really see that side. No. Or if it's a complete copy. Yeah, seems like it. So in this reference, it seems like there's a copy straight over. You know what we could have done before we did that cut? It seems we could have added the sides, because it seems to kind of perfectly snug. It's perfectly snug inside there. So let's try it out. So cursor to selected, which didn't work at all. So let's go into quick. Nope, I haven't set that. So I need to go to UVs. Nope. This is why. Oh, really? Let's see. Add you to quick favorites. So I have access. No, it's not. All right. It's origin geometry, of course. All right. Can I right click you and remove you? I can't. Or I did, but I added it back. I did. I want to make sure this works. There we go. Then with the cursor to this, geometry, I will do a cube, scale it down to roughly the right size. Say something like this. Perhaps a bit smaller than this, because I'm going to have looks like we're going to have a bit of a space on this side, so let's just go slightly smaller. Of course, you to be inside. I was not meant to do that. Oh. So the question is, we'll can't really see underneath, but there's the end, it seems like. So does that pipe or the top cylinder go all the way down? Like, is it an open hole? Hard to tell, but here's another detail. Alright, another, of course, you can't go above because then you can't open. Fair enough. Oh, there you go. Forgot to X-ray. Let's separate these two. Okay. So is the this it? Should I just add this going down? I have to do the door first. The best way to do that so looking at this, might be best if I extrude one side out first, then extrude these side, or would they be something like when they were created, when this thing was made, you had two flat surfaces or two sides, these cutouts with the hole that held the glass, and you would probably have the glass on the inside, and these two planes would kind of grab onto the glass or hold it between themselves, and then you would add the outside. That kind of makes sense, and then it looks like there's been a cut, so you would have one piece that then welded together with these longer pieces. Alternatively, they had made small cuts in some kind of sheet that they have first folded, so you would have the sides, then you would make a cut in each corner, 45-degree cut, then you fold them. That's an alternative, but it doesn't look like that. It looks more like they've actually added like a straight line. I'll say it's the same down here though. What does these say? Can't really tell these. No, it's not a lot better. Looks like whoever made this just decided that that's not worth their time to be that accurate, which makes sense. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy you. We're actually going to hide this for now. Let's go to side view and do a rough estimate of this width of this one. I think that could be good enough. Sticks out a bit. Not sure if that's accurate. It kind of feels like it does slightly stick out a bit. So let's just go with it. You're in center. Go with the do that. Now let's try an array. We can create an array combination of array modifier and an empty actor. I think it's called an actor, isn't it? So we're going to create, first of all, an empty plain axis. Scale it down a bit. Don't need, actually, I do want something to grab onto. To do this, reset the scale. Is this proper though? It's not proper. I need you to be, probably not have to be this accurate, but I'm going to try it out. Next, we're going to add a array modifier. We're going to do 4. We're not going to do relative. We're going to do object. And select the object, which is empty. And then we're going to rotate the empty 90 degrees, which drew it all the way over there because we have transforms. And I assume this is due to our origin. So we're going to move the let's see. I have right now, we need to seem to be correct. Why isn't the cursor on top of it though? Seems a lot better. Select you. I'm going to do origin to 3D cursor. Then we have this, but then all of a sudden we have another problem. I don't want that to stick out, so select the face. Let's move the cursor to this point. We're going to use that cursor to first move it in a bit, scale it down rather. Then move back. Is that enough? Scale it down a bit more. As I expected it. No. Let's try something else. Let's have the cube back, because this is the biggest size we want. Perhaps we can scale up ever so slightly. All right, so instead of extruding outwards, let's grab this section, scale it inwards instead. Move cursor this point. Next, let's see, I want to copy the modifiers, the modifier. Not going, my head is not really. Okay, so let's try another one because I'm not getting this corner piece when it just creates this big cube, which looking from this angle is not terrible. Or perhaps I could just scale it on the Y. I can. There you go. It's not completely shut it. As I do. So we're going to talk about baking later on. Probably going to have to... How you doing, Shrill? Yeah, I'm done with the rock, actually. I'm kind of done with rocks in general. Yeah. Finished that off. Now we're on to something completely different. So how you doing, man? It's been a few days now. I've been having a short break. I mean, who knows? I might go back to it one day, but I mean, what interests me might not interest everyone else, so I want to try something new, and I do want to create something that I could add to my actual game. The rock were never meant to be part of that. I was just for fun, getting back into it, haven't touched ZBrush in it feels like years, so it's nice going back to old stomping grounds. And right now my head is way confused regarding some of these shapes. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Well, the shapes aren't that bad, but I need to think a few steps ahead. So let's just go with it. I think. Let's do this. See if we can keep it procedural some way. For that, we need a new of these. You're a lot smaller. Make sure it's perfect. There we go. Then I'm going to do that for mirror objects. Go. Flipping. Should be fine. Well, that is true, but no. I'm kind of tired of AAA stuff. The landscape of AAA doesn't... Like, I don't feel it's my place to be. So, prefer do my own things. A bit more... laid back stuff. But yeah, yeah. I did, like, at my previous workplace, I did rocks for about a year. As part of the team that was meant to figure out a new pipeline. So they just tasked me to create like a 50 rocks or something like that, and in various types and shapes and details. And yeah, no more rocks, please. At least for now. All right. Let's see. I don't know about that. I've seen some amazing rock sculptures, but I'll keep it in mind. What's going on your side? Anything fun? Yeah, we're trying to survive the heat too. I think it was like 30 degrees here in Scandinavia, and I mean it's probably not what you're going through, but it's way above average for us. So I've been pumping my AC all day, and hopefully, well, hoping to relieve at least some heat, but it's been rough. Seems like most of the world, or at least the northern hemispheres, struggling along in the heat, trying to survive. Well, it doesn't have to be northern when I'm think about it. It could be most of the world, I guess. So, all right. I think we got some pretty decent shapes. I need to clean up a bit though. Don't need you. Don't need you. Okay, we need to activate the array again. I think that's a decent start. We'll see what happens with the high poly later on. This bulging a bit? No, I think we're fine. All right, so I want to go for that's insane. I assume you converted that looking at the decimals, but 32 to 37. Holy shit. I can't do much during the day, can you? When it's that hot. You have to kind of like, you know what? I'll work in the morning or I work in the late night, evenings. But during the day, that has to be insane. For me, I'm one of those who if it's like 1 degree above 25, well, Celsius, then I'm like out. I'm out. I can't deal with it. Yeah, I bet. I bet. What's roughly the time for you right now? I think you're, if I remember correctly, you're like, I would say 6 to 8 hours time difference. So it would be, what, 2, 4 p.m.? 12, all right. Or, well, almost 1. Wait, a.m., are you ahead of me? Wait, have I mistaken you from another part of the world? Just wait, my head right now, a.m. and p.m. Are you working with 24-hour clock or the 12-hour clock? Because it's kind of confusing. 12:42 p.m. 12:42 would be enough, I think, if you're working with a 24-hour clock. Maybe that's being nitpicky. All right, so it's around noon, I guess, or just past noon. So it would be at the worst right now, heat-wise, I assume. All right. Well, hopefully it doesn't hit you too hard and that you stay hydrated, because that can really hit you when you least expect it. Expect it to do. It's the worst. So, where were we? Right. I think we're going to add the bars. It seems... Okay, so it's going around itself. That's going to be a pain, I think, to do. Yeah, that will be confusing, wouldn't it? Is it kind of the humidity or something like that? That could definitely be worse, in my opinion, than the dry heat. I prefer, well, if I have to pick 2 bad options, I would prefer like the dry heat rather than the humid, like swimming through the atmosphere type of heat. That's the worst one. When I lived in the States, that used to be like a shock to me the first summer, when felt like it was literally just water in front of me or behind me in all places, just walking through mist. That was kind of weird and terrifying. That's front, right? That's the front. Okay. Let's add. Should we go directly for a curve, or should we try sculpt it out with polygons first? I think we go for curve straight away. Let's go for Bezier. And shrink it down. Let's do 90. I believe we can do this. Right. All right. So let's add you to this part. View up. Oh, we're going up. Looks to me we need to be roughly in this spot. Oh yeah, Yeah, saltwater would be absolutely horrendous. So I don't know much else about San Francisco than that's where the bridge is from, right? The red bridge. I believe it's even called the San Francisco Bridge. Perhaps I'm kind of showing my level of like cultural understanding of the U.S. I was never really interested in that type of knowledge, though, so perhaps that's why. Next, we're gonna have to add. All right, I need to do this. It's been a while since I've worked with curves, so I'm gonna subdivide it with 2. And next, we're gonna move you up almost all the way to the top. Then we're gonna go to the side view. Oh, what's going on? That's what's going on. So I need to move you in. I'm going to fix the craziness in just a second. This. Doing a 0 scaling. Just select an axis with your scale tool and then press 0 on the axis. And then you would flatten out these types of lines. Works with most lines, and you need to be 90 degrees. Shove you in like this. That could work. I mean, that would be a good way to get away from people's eyes, right? To walk around without people caring for you, just ignoring you, I assume. Did he talk about M and Q? That's their code name, right? The weapons inventor and manager of 007, right? I haven't seen those movies in such a long time. Later Bonds just doesn't appeal to me. Not sure why. Wouldn't say, what's his name? Craig? Is that the one who's played Bond the past years? He's not a bad actor, he just guess Bond were never my thing. I'm more of a Gladiator or Lord of the Rings type of movie goer. Alright, so now the loop. That's going to be annoying. Would I do that? Be quite a lot of rotation, I guess. Let's for now add at least 1 in the middle, and can I split you in a way? Can I do that? I can't. Okay. Yeah, it's a show for certain types of people, I guess, and I'm just not one of those. The 007 or James Bond is just, I don't know. I don't know why it's not appealing to me the same way other movies. I'm more of I'm generally more of a fantasy and historical type, I guess. So what's your favorite then? What are movies you tend to go for, Duck? So done this up there this time. I think this could be a way to do this, but it's not going to be the best way. that sounds cool, but I have no idea. What is a smart guitar? I never heard that term before. I actually need to look this up. What is a smart guitar? What is this cool thing? That is crazy. That looks insane. That would be really cool. Then I assume you've played guitar before, you're thinking like learning on stream. I mean, that could be a cool idea, I guess. Let's see. This is going to be my worst idea ever, but I'm going to try it either way. Maybe not. Can't do that. Why not? Alright, actually, let's try something else. This is not going to work the way I wanted to. Let's try an add. Look, there is a mesh. We could try and add a curve again, but we could try, instead of the Bezier, let's try an actual circle. Let's make it a lot smaller. So looking at this, it does looks like it has strings, but then again, maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. These smart guitars. So you're planning on working with a touch type then? Because that will be completely new. Never heard that before. I've played string guitar, classic guitar, or electric guitar for many years, although it's been a while now, but so I've never tried one of these. I assume then if you're not going for string, more of a touch or button type. I mean, I'm sure you can make some amazing sounds from that. Does sound like a cool idea. Alright, so what I want to try, can I tear you apart? Pretty sure I can. Exactly, can't do that. That's not what I'm after, is it? Let's split you some way. Let's try and Google this. It's been a while. Someone's tried it, so let's see what's going on. Alright, so there's an option. Let's try it out. So it's either Art C. That kind of did what I wanted. Alright. Looking at the Enya Cyber G stringless portable, foldable guitar. Yeah. I would do it. That sounds like a cool idea. I mean, yeah. Not much else to say. It sounds like an amazing and fun thing to do on stream. I'm not sure I've ever seen it been done by anyone else, so it would probably be a way to stand out, at least. Let's see if we do it. But I guess when it comes to streaming, the most important thing is to have fun. You're meant to be straight. Why aren't you straight? All right. So it looks like it goes this direction. So we're going to move you in the Y. Nope. Z? What's going on? Let's go global then. Okay, that's... Let's go this way. I think the string wizard has one, but there's a string smart guitar. Okay, so I didn't read much about it. What's the difference then between, if you have strings, what's the difference between a smart guitar and a regular electric guitar? Are you able? Does it work more like a synth where you can add reverb and things without a amplifier? Is that how it works? Okay. That's something. Now then, I guess we can only just go upwards. To adjust this a bit. That is way too big. You can add drums and other instruments in the background. Okay, so it will be a one-man band then. That's cool. Where would you start? Like, what are the genres you're looking at? Let's move you out. This is way too big of a loop. We're going to have to adjust that in a bit. This was a bit more of a more work than I thought it would be, but we're getting there. Just remove you for now. Okay. Yeah, I should have known. Not that I know what that means, but I should have known that that's where you were going. So there will be some traditional duck sounding music then. Let's see. We need you to go all the way in, please. Make sure it's stuck down here, roughly. We can always adjust these later on. Let's see. Go down a bit. All right, so this is going to be fixed in a second. What I need to do now is add another circle curve, because we're going to use that as the profile for the mesh itself. You're going all in. Not one genre, but you're going all the way to, what is it, 3? All right. I think this is a great idea. I would love to hear this. Let's do world origin. Let's add a Bezier. You make your tiny as hell, which will mean let's do an 03, something like that. Make sure the mean weights are fine. And next, actually, move it down so I can see what I'm doing with you. Full meter, probably not. There you go. All right. Wait, are you combined? You're not meant to be combined. Okay, though. Let's do scale. Let's do a rotation check for now. Need to be 1. Found that mistake way too many times. And next, we're going to go geometry. We need to do an object and select our main object. There you go. And the reason it looks that bad. Wow, what could that be? It could be the rotation. It could be the scale. And we need to go in here. We need to make sure you're at 1. I assumed at least. What's going on? Why aren't you doing what you're meant to do? That's fine. Is it because our, okay, it could be, all right, the origin point, of course. Should I try to add the origin point at that part? And then, all right. This is not what I expected to happen. What else could we do? I'm gonna try. Oh, that's better, but not great. Why? That makes no sense. Perhaps. All right. Might have to rethink my approach in this one. Let's start from the beginning. Can I remove you? I could not. Okay. Wait, as in a download patch? Or, yeah, it has to be a download, right? Can't be gameplay because that would be a lot shorter than I expected. Let's see. Should be a way to create a screw, right? Honestly, I've never done a screw in Blend before. Oh, so it's down for 8 hours. Oh, shit. Yeah. That's, I guess what they could also be doing, the download or the patch itself, they might be trying to do some hardware, maybe backend stuff at the same time. I know that World of Warcraft would do that every now and then. Be down for like a few hours, up to almost a full half a day or even a full day. But 8 hours sucks, especially if you want to play it right now, right? I assume that's the case. Yeah. I should try something else then, I guess. As tough as that is. Let's see. to look at a video. That's never fun. Let's... You start with a circle. Looks like it, yeah. A circle. Screw modifier makes sense. What the hell did you do? You applied, of course. Looks like it's moving around the pivot point. All right. Yeah, that looks like the best shot we have. So let's try that. Which was, so let's try to use this one. I do that. Oh no, definitely not. All right. Selection to cursor. Just make sure you're in the center. All right, now I'm intrigued. You're saying me there's a huge secret somewhere in MechBreak. People are not telling you. You humans will be shocked. All right, I'll wait for that one then, I guess. Slightly scared. But I trust you. I trust you with this. Wait, where the hell did it go? What's going on? Let's see. Can I do? That's what I wanted. And modifier. No. Add an access object. See if that can help us modify this screw a bit more. Scale. Oh, okay. I know very little about this MechBreak. I've seen some streamers play it, but that type of game doesn't really interest me. But I didn't know it was or you had paid to win elements. That's not my favorite type of thing. I don't like pay to win stuff. I prefer it without. Let's isolate this for a bit. Can I use you to? I can. There we go. That's not gonna work. Not that. Oh, sensitive thing. Oh, there we go. Now we're looking at something. However, it's really small and sensitive to bare minimum of touch. Let's try. That's too close. Let's try that. But now I want to move you around because I do want this to be this spot over here. How the hell would I do that? Let's just try. Let's try and move it, see what happens. I just do it. Can. That's great. Can I do that? Perfect, I can. Next. All right, that's getting us somewhere. No, I need to go This way? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Remember, I should be fine. We can fix, as long as I get the main shape in there, I can probably fix most the other things. Don't like though how that looks. Is that a way for me to fix? Let's go the other way, other side. I want this part to be down here. Is that possible? I mean, this is, I'm just going to open it up. That's not what I want. Okay, so I need to move you down. Perfect. Is this too thick though? Let's look at the reference image. Where are you? There you go. Yeah, a bit too thick. So let's just scale it down. That works. I think we're going to leave through that. That works great. So, could commit this, but I'm not sure if I want to. So I prefer to use this curve as a base and move up with whatever I need. Can we? To move you closer, I can't do that. Is it this way? That's widen. Of course, I need to adjust this. There we go. That was a bit too much. Very sensitive. That works. All right, perfect. Next, let's duplicate this, and we're going to turn this off. From the center of this little thing, I'm going to add a curve. Is not what I expected. Side. Be at. Let's move you to the cursor. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. No, why? Move all these things out. This might be the hardest part of this model, actually. That's kind of insane. There we go. Almost. All right. Perfect. You out. Actually, that might be too much out now. No, we're gonna make this work. And use you with a geometry object bevel, right? reason that happens is why. It's not. Is it this one? Should be the bevel, shouldn't it? But why is it doing these weird things? Makes no sense. Let's hide everything else for a while we look at what's going on. Something. All right, here we go. Could be this one. There you go. Mean looks all right. Mine looks fine. Yep. All right. It's definitely been a while since I've done. It's not a complicated thing, but it's certainly a brain teaser. Although I would say it's late and I've been working quite a lot this today, so the brain isn't working on all cylinders. I'm also trying to keep track of these new setup I have. So where I'm using a shortcut to add chapters to the recording. And I'm like holding and crossing my fingers that it works, but then I realized once I was working in Blender that that's the exact same shortcut for a very different operation inside Blender. I'm not sure if that's going to trigger both OBS and Blender at the same time. I guess we just have to wait and see what's going on that side. And I need to move all of you up. Just eyeball this. Don't really care for perfect measurements right now. We're going to grab this, duplicate, and rotate. Where though? Should I try and rotate it? Let's go with it's best option. It's not going to snap to this side, is it? So let's just try something. That would be 180. It's not snapping, which was what I expected it not to do. Let's just go with this. We'll fix everything in a second. Just making sure it's following the shape, and it's really not, because this one needs to be further out. It's way too straight right now. So let's grab this, these two, move you out enough. Actually, let's do it this way instead. If we can make sure these two is a proper bend to them, which looks like it should be around this part. You. Eyeball. We're going to fix this in a second. Just want the shape in general and make sure I have enough details to either remove or keep. It's not perfect. Really don't like that side, but we could try. So what I don't like is the angle this kind of comes out from. I would love this to be a bit more straight. Right now it goes in a quite sharp shift. And the way we could try and fix that would be to either move this slightly, just ever so slightly to the side. Something like that. Actually, we're going to do that for all of these. But that is not going to fix the entire problem because it's still there. And I think we're going to have to fix that afterwards. We are going to make sure we have enough resolution on the screw modifier. 16. Let's go with 32. It's better to have too many and remove than realizing I need more. And I haven't saved, so let's do that. All right. Guess we should commit to this shape now because it is close to what I'm expecting. Let's make sure that the width of the whatever you want to call it is what I want it to be. It might be a bit smaller, but then again, from a distance, it will be roughly this close to the player. From a distance, that kind of looks quite good. So I'm going to commit that. Or we're going to do this. Let's make a copy and add that to a backup collection. So let's hide you. Let's hide all of these. Let's start cleaning up a bit. Let's commit to these. So we need to grab E2. And where are you? We're 2. Mesh. And then we need to grab this. Need to apply. Can't do that. Can't apply. And do it this way then. Apply. Convert. Mesh. Next would be to combine these, I assume. Makes sense. Hopefully, I didn't even think about that. Did I make a mistake of... That's 48. It's 48. That's not a good number. 48, no. I don't want that number. We could do that is go to backup, turn you off. Let's curve. What we want is the edit mode. So here's the question. It's 48. How about that we make an 8? It seems like 12 times 4 could be that simple. Let's see if that works. I do like to have it at 32 rather than 48. Might not be that important. I am kind of curious if I can make it a 32. All right, so there is 4 times the preview run. All right, that makes sense. Let's see. So if you change the resolution preview from in the U from 12 to 8. That will fix problem. Or, well, it will give you 32 rather than 48. And now we can go back to applying and committing to the conversion. Let's see. Let's actually grab the break. See if we can do a chapter. Just vibing along with some corn. Perhaps we could try something else. I love corn, but I do have a few other bands I would like to listen to. Been craving some Sabaton for a while. I think this is one of their latest ones, which I can highly recommend. Assuming that the sound comes through properly. I've tried to check it, but not sure if I've done it right or correct. Be curious what's happening on Twitch and software and game developments. A few people streaming right now. Either way. All right. Break over. Let's make sure to fit this up. Let's see if we can use a distance merge. Maybe that is as easy as it gets. Otherwise, I have to kind of line these. That might be an option. Yeah, let's just try that first. Let's see, is it Y or it's X? Let's do a close approximation. Select these. Do a merge by distance. And that's one of the things I wanted to fix. Select the correct. All right, there you go. All right. I'm just gonna eyeball this. It's way too small of a detail to worry about. Let's see, so that works. Not too worried about if it's off to the side of someone, since it's a handmade object, there will be some imperfections. So this works out well. Can't really tell either way. Let's see if we can join the other one. Same process. We'll merge together. Sure, we have all of these selected. Oh, there we go. Side in Z, just one of them to fit a bit better. Blue is X, yeah, we'll move it in X. All right, distance again. The front. It's a bit of a tip when it comes to moving around. You can use the numpads, and if it happens that you want the opposite side, in my case right now, I'm on the right camera. If you want the opposite of what you see right now, you want to see it from, well, the front, still right, I guess. You just press 9, and it will jump to the opposite. I guess from right to left in this case. That's a nice touch from the Blender has. Let's see, I want to move you around. Let's go with that. And you can double tap G, then E, I believe. Kinda just, no, that wasn't the one. Need to have the proper double tap G, then one time on E. And it will, not sure what to call it, but you can see the difference. This is before I tap E, and this is with E, so it kind of aligns with the nearby faces, so it doesn't distort the shape in any way. So that's kind of nice. Actually, I'm going to adjust this ever so slightly. No, let's leave it. Not going to touch that. Okay. So the next step, I'm going to save these circles, apart from one. I don't think I need a U. And delete this empty. I'm not going to need that. I'm not sure if I'll need this. No, I do. Probably should name these. I'm going to keep them deselected, or I'm going to lock their selections. You can find the way to lock selection by going to this filter. Make sure you have the error selected, and then you can make them unselectable, which is nice in some cases. And you can also hide them using this similar process. Filter, go to the computer screen, and you can hide them. The difference is that if you use the icon, you can unhide them or show them or hide them by using the H command or the H button. But if you have these two, this computer monitor selected, that H hotkey doesn't work. So it's just going to be hidden until you actually click on the icon. Or I guess there's another hotkey for it, but I haven't found it, so I don't know. But either way, you can just do that, and it will be more useful because you don't have to worry about unhiding or showing things you don't want to while you're working on something else. Either way, we're going to move this around, so I'm going to move you to the side. I need to remember which direction is what. So it looks like it will be roughly in this spot. Perhaps that's just way too small of a detail to worry about. I was looking at this section up here being a bit too much to the right. I'm thinking we're going to be fine. What I am going to do, though, is move it down ever so slightly. Now I'm worried that I've moved these in too much. They're way too small. I think I can fix that. Hopefully. I'll move you out. And from the front, we're going to split you in the middle. Delete this section. Hide you for a while. And we're going to do that. So I'm also using a add-on for that action to, I think it's called Mesh Machine, it could be. And it's it has the hotkeys for a mirror modifier on the Alt-X. So we'll give it this gizmo so I can select which axis I want to align it with. It's kind of smart. Though keep in mind, it broke my setup because it does move the mirror to the bottom. Or in this case, actually adding a new one. That's not what I wanted, which makes no sense actually. So let's just do There you go. Do I have some transform on this? No, I don't. But I do want to grab this one, because now it's not the correct spot. Can I select you? There we go. I want it to be slightly thinner. It's not a lot, but perhaps I can move it even more because it's still some space, and looks like from the reference image as if it's kind of touching the end of this, like on the inside edge. Similar down here, it seems to be very close. So what we could try. It's not going to work for us, because if I try to scale it up on the Y to make it wider, it's also going to intersect a lot more, but then I can thin it out a bit more. All right, let's try it out. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to move you ever so slightly Y. Oh, it's intersecting, right? Yes. We're going to swap song. We already had that one. Let's go with this. It's nice. All right, let's move this a bit more. I have to be careful that my walls or doors are not too thin. And also I need some space for the hinge on the left, on the right side. Yeah, right side. What does it look like on this one? Yeah. How is it attached to the other side? That's a good question. Perhaps we can get away with just hiding. It's not going to be that visible to the player, because it's going to be pointing forward. So the player mostly going to see kind of from this angle. So if you have the hinge on this side, the front side, they're not going to see if it's properly stuck to anything. So I don't think I'm going to worry too much about that. How about this inside though? Is that working? Looks like it is. Is it? Not supposed to have inside, right? Because that's going to be... No, I don't have... So I missed something here. Let's try a few directions. All right, that makes no sense. Why is it going in the Y when I'm asking it to go in the X? Is it because this doesn't have a rotation to it? Neither does this. However, it looks like its origin point isn't perfectly centered. So let's not fix that. That makes sense. What if we move you up? Isn't snapping at all. Vertex, center. Let's try center. This makes no sense to me. It should be snapping. It's not. Right. I didn't like doing it that way, but it works. So, let's see if we can fix the issue with this. Well, of course. Right. I think I know. It's using that as... Right. That makes a ton of sense. I am not really thinking this through. Right. Because you need... Right. Let's move the point. That's going to make things a mess. Again, let's select. Let's remove it completely. Let's try again. Why is it saying the Y in the... No, it's correct. Now it's correct. There we go. All right. Sure why I was messing that up so much. All right, we're on the right track. Let's then... Let's do this. Move... Let's move you to active. Let's make you this. All right. I do know what's happening. Just need to get my head around this. Cursor to selected. Oh, we need to add this selected. We need to have you already into. That's what's going to happen. And I need to move my empty object to cursor. Then I need to use you as. All right, and then there we go. Now we're back. Scale it down without, I can't. That's great. Let's rename this because I'm just going to mess this up otherwise. Lock you. There we go. What are you doing? You're do that and then that. I can't. All right, perfect. Make it easier for me to tell what's going on. Right. And this is going to be a mess. Now. So let's move rough spot. Assume this is going to be the glass, or at least we're going to keep it as a placeholder for the glass for now. Don't have a modifier on it. So we're going to, let's copy the modifier from this. We're going to go with the array modifier. Perfect. So now we have all these modifiers. I only need to focus on the front, which is great. About that. This is flipped. No, it's not flipped. So it's the curve, the helix goes the same way. So that's nice. Which means I can either use this empty or the center one. So I want to do another mirror. Can't do that. That makes no sense. Do I have any transforms on this object? I have. So let's reset rotation, make sure scale is 1. So now I need to make sure the I can either move my origin point and mirror from that, or I can use the object or the plane axis. And what I'm thinking is we're going to move our origin point here on a modifier, mirror modifier. We're going to use the basic empty as there we go. Perfect. Same principle, we can borrow the array modifier. Thought we could do that. We can't. We should. I might be doing things in a way too complicated way. Instead of just moving on, I guess. It's not as much fun though. So it's rotating correctly. However, the offset is incorrect. And that is likely due to move the origin point to that spot. What if we do this instead? There you go. Perfect. It's always a balance between using a ton of modifiers compared to just moving on and using regular rotation and snapping, whatever. It's preference, I guess. I do prefer working with modifiers because I like the idea of modifying just a single side and that just translates through the entire mesh. There's also the way we could do it is using instances instead, which we can copy this and hide everything else. So if we let's just do this. What we could do instead is, I mean, if we do a copy, as I assume that will be an instance. You can double check by looking at, it's not an instance, no, because we can tell, since it's not having a number on the side in the object data properties window. Here next to this shield, which is I believe it is a protective thing. Never looked into the exact details, but I believe it helps to protect certain files from not being destroyed. It's not going to work. Well, it's not that useful on, in my experience at least, not that useful on meshes. But if you have material, it might be removed by Blender on startup. I never looked into why that happens, but it does happen. So keep that in mind. What we could do now is do a Control L, sorry, and just link object data. Now we have a number. So if I were to change one of these, it will also change the other one. And I saw a video not long ago, I believe it was Blender Guru, mentioned this, that instances are cheaper when it comes to rendering. I don't render, so I don't know. But as far as I understood it, the data that's on one of the meshes will translate over to the other meshes, which makes sense. It's an instance. So the calculation has to be done once. But then again, if you have various lights, one of these meshes has a light that's not meant to hit the other one. If you do an instance, I do believe that light will also translate over to all the instances. So worth keeping in mind if you decide to try that out. I don't believe we need you to, and we're going to do this. Do I have a circle left? I do. Let's make a copy of this circle. And let's going to see if we can move it to center of the world. And wait, what? Why is it doing this? Oh, I copy a mesh, not a circle. I want the circle. We don't have one. Okay. Am I using it somewhere? No. Lucky for me, I saved a backup. I think I did. Yes, I did. All right, perfect. Let's do that. And move you out. Let's remove this. I want this one to be at the center of my scene. So I have relative easy access to it if I need to select or similar stuff. Go. Let's reset all the rotations. We might have to look at the mean radius. Every now and then, if you notice that when you use a circle Bezier on a regular Bezier curve, because you want that revolved geometry around that curve, if you notice that it's off, it doesn't look the same when it comes to width of the original mesh, because you would use this as this curve as the profile of your mesh. If it doesn't look correct, it might be because there's a mean radius value that's been changed. You might want to add that back to 1. Right. What I'm trying to create is the loop going through here. So let's add my curve, my 3D cursor. At that point, add a and scale it down a lot. Let's move this one to selection to cursor, and let's just add this to the other side. Go. That's not what you're meant to do. There we go. Repeat that. Next, it doesn't look like I need Another one, it does look like I would love a centerpiece for that. Make sure these are aligned. That seems to be roughly right. What can I tell from this angle is that, oh, I was not meant to do that. Big fingers hits all the buttons. Sure, it's roughly center. Select both. Let's do subdiv, which gives us a center point. And let's move that center point out to change you to lined. No. What could it be? Free perhaps? Nope. One of these is going to work automatic. There we go. So the same for these two. Automatic. From top, we're now going to make these completely flat. So they are pointing along the x-axis. Let's go with y, I believe. Y. So use a scale, and then you use the scale button. Then you select a axis you want to constrain the movements in, and you just press 0 and enter, and you will perfectly flatten that line. And it works for regular polygons too. So it's a good thing to have in your arsenal. Although there are many other options, but I like this one. So now, okay, we might actually want 2 points that are inside these loops instead, because it looks hard to align these properly, but we can try. We can try doing this. Object, select, Bezier curve. Let's go with an 8. Will be the same 32 as we have with the other ones. What we noticed earlier was that if you multiply this preview, resolution preview, with 4, you'll get the final mesh numbers along the segments on each, like the circuit segments. So let's see if we can align this. I would love to try and bevel this, but I don't think I can. Doesn't look like I can bevel that as I can with regular points. So let's see if we can, what happens if we align this as best as we can. So it's not horrendous by any means. What it isn't though is what I can tell, the same as my reference image. It's close, so perhaps even this angle might actually be correct. Yeah. I think I can live with that. Yep, let's try it. I've said this a few times throughout the stream. It's not about creating a perfect replica. It's more about finding something that looks similar or pleasing to me personally. And once the player has this in their hands, looking from like something along this is probably as close as it's ever going to be to the player. It will be really hard for them to determine whether or not it's perfectly correct or aligned. Especially when you have everything else going around, or like happening around the player. So I'm not going to sweat the absolute details. It's just going to be what it is. That said, now I want to replicate that array thing. That means I have to make sure my origin point somewhat in the center of the mesh. Let's see what happens if we just add it. Let's just do this. So it didn't affect the mesh as is, which is great. Let's borrow the modifiers. Oh, also, if you are curious about this, what I'm doing is Control C but this is not default. So you have to go into, I believe there's an add-on preferences called, I believe it's copy something. Yeah, I believe it's this one, the interface copy attributes menu. And it just allows me to first select the model I want to move my modifiers to, and then select the mesh I want to copy the modifiers from. Control C, select modifier. I'm not going to use the mirror because that's just going to be nuts. So we're going to use the array, and hopefully this will just work. And it does. Do I need to figure something out along? Like, are there welds the ends of these? I mean, would likely be, but I can't really tell. I do have an option. There's a way of using data transfer. I'm not sure if it's necessary for this model, but what you would do is that you would select these edges, fan out a flat circle that's flat with this plane, and circles around this end. Then you would bevel the corner, so you have a nice bevel between these. That might be enough as long as the main surface in the background is flat, like this surface right here is flat. As long as this one is flat, then you should be fine with that. But you could then use a data transfer modifier to transfer the normals on this plane to the circle that goes around, and that way create a perfect blend. I've only seen it being done. I never used it myself, but it looks like it could be a decent method for scenarios like this. Let's view ever so slightly to the left. Probably a mistake, but let's do it either way. To move you ever so slightly out. Make sure it's not intersecting too much. We don't want that to affect the normals baking later on. Looking at it, we might want to adjust this width of this a bit. When you adjust it too much, because it does look like it's the same circumference with thickness. Either way, it looks like it's the same as these. So we might have to go to what I talked about earlier, rather than having one point in the center of this curve. Let's see if we can have one here and one in the center. I think that we could control. Perhaps we could have either, yeah, you know what? We can actually do this. Now we have one in the center, which we can adjust slightly. Still have a bend, which is what I want. And at the same time, we could, using these points, control how much is intersecting this area. I can move you out roughly this price. Then all of a sudden I need to move you. I'm not going to move you too much, because then it's just going to be, well, the roundness of that edge right here is just going to happen. So we need to just this a bit. No. And maybe this is good enough. Or alternatively, we could move this inside the this. Focus too much on those details, but it does feel better to know that it's ever slightly better aligned. It kind of gives it a bit of a handmade look to it, since these are not going to be perfect replicas or mirrored details. I mean, it's going to be minimal. It's going to be like half a millimeter, and as a player, you're not going to notice. So I need to move on. Let's see. What else could we do? Perhaps we should just add all the basic details. I've been focusing quite a lot on the doors, on the main casing. I might have to focus a bit more on the upper body of this thing. What's the best approach? Let's just start with adding a cylinder. I believe I was using 32. That's correct. All right, perfect. Can dial this in a bit. Again, just gonna do this, eyeballing it. To be flattened a bit. Yeah, I think that works. Let's just use a sharpen node or command to flatten your side so it gets a smooth precision. So the question is, should I keep the inner cylinder separate from the top one? I think that could make things quite easy, a lot easier in the long run. And I do like the idea of when I model things, I try to replicate the way it would be, well, not perfectly. I'm thinking more how it would be made in real life. These things would come from factory or be made combined. They would be combined either afterwards or kept separate. At least that's how I imagine it going in my head. So it looks like there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separate pieces just for this top cylinder. Not sure what it's called. So what we're going to do is to remove the bottom face, add a, where are you? There you go, a solidify modifier. Gonna make this roughly what I expect it to be. Let's make it a 5. And let's hide the other, everyone else. Make a copy. Face. Sorry, we're gonna delete this part. What's going on? There you go. Let's add back this part. And let's do an inset. And since it seems to be needing a bit more space on the inside for those, I have no idea what to call them, metal bands. That seems to be what ties it all together with the rest of the body. I'm going to give myself some space. I guess this is as fine as it could ever be. Let's invert the selection, move the faces, move you up, then extrude you down, delete the face, go to number 8, let's unhide everything else, make sure this is all in the, parts don't have to be that far in, but just a bit. Okay. Needs to be lowered. Not that much, because we do have, is this part of the main body's top? Looks like it is. So we probably should add that into. Actually, looking at it, it seems to be the top here is separate from the sides. Ever so slightly. All right, that could be arranged. Let's just separate you. That's give myself a bit of lip, bit more. I do like to, when it comes to really small details, just add ever so slightly more thickness to it. It helps when it comes to the baking. And we're not going to listen to arch enemies right now. I believe it's arch enemy. Yes. As much as I like their songs, love their songs actually, but right now I'm trying to think, and it's not helping. It's not helping at all. And we're gonna have to this, do an inset, roughly, I'd say to this part, and then just move you up decent amount. Would be nice if these had a bit of a more front looking image. It does look like they have that. This one is more flat actually. So perhaps, because I believe this reference is actually a 3D model, so it's not the best, but like while looking at it, it looks good. So I like to use it. But it seems to me that either it's a completely different model, although with similarities. This one's flat, while this one has a slight bulge to it. I don't think bulge is the correct word. Let's say curve. That's a better word. And looking from the front, let's take some liberties. Let's actually move this up quite a bit and adjust you down, this one up. Shouldn't be worried to, if you want to take liberties to do stuff, just kind of do it, unless you're actually going for something super realistic. I would say just go nuts, have fun with it. And looking at this, we're going to have to add probably, let's go with 3. And I think if I just move these upwards, that's not going to work for me. So let's try the, what's it called? Proportional editing tool. See if we can give it ever so slight bend. I noticed that it moves upwards, but we're going to have to adjust that later on. We need to have closest snapping point, so it does that. Perfect. And next will be that indent. So I need to inset this point and push it down, which of course gives me that same issue as before. We could bevel that edge, probably the best option. So let's move you down. Let's bevel this edge. Don't like to use too many segments when it comes to bevels, at least at this stage. It's just a pain to fix later on. All right, adjust this because we don't want these. Let's remove That's also an add-on I'm using. I haven't modified it in a bit, so it's adding quite a lot of extra stuff I don't really need. But I'm not in the mood right now to fix that, so we're just going to move on. And next, we're going to do another inset, roughly to this part, then move it up. I think it kind of peaks out above rest, something like this. Probably could do a bevel in these parts too, but it's also going to be fixed once we do the high poly, but let's just go with it. Clear sharp. Let's clear those, make sure. I think looks like it's a slightly tighter bevel than the previous one, so let's go with this. Should be a way to adjust that sharpen command on. Is it somewhere in this part? Well, either way, let's just move on. And so with that, what else can we do? So we could add that lip. And it looks like it's been hammered out because it doesn't look like a weld to me. So what we're going to do that is we're going to pick this part, move it all the way up till it snaps to this part. Add a edge and another edge, and we're gonna just bevel this one. Sharp. Is that enough? Is that going to be picked up by our normal maps? It's perhaps a bit too subtle. So let's enhance it a bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. Let's go with that. That part. It's a bit more. It's not overkill. That's kind of where we're going for right now. Not overkill. I want to increase this section. I do want to add this up a bit, move it up. Let's just go a bit nuts with that and move it in. Just making sure I constrain it to the Y and X axis, so when I scale it, it doesn't affect the Z axis, because I do want the bevel to remain this. Otherwise, it would have something like this would happen, where it's just kind of flattening that bevel. We don't want that. With that, though, we need to move this section up again. Close. All right, what's going on? What's going on? Bevel, vertex, closest, center. Let's just go active if you're going to be that way. Yeah, that works. We could do the same for this top. You're going to have to dent that in a bit, so that could be a bit more challenging. It's not a super big challenge, but what I'm looking at is, rather than creating a square kind of thing going around this top and then bevel those, it could make it look, rather than circular, because it looks like it would be circular, it would make it more of a rounded square profile. Or unless we kind of push the bevels quite a bit. We could just try it. It's an option. Well, actually not, because I don't like the way I have to... you know, we could try this. Let's do bevel. Like roughly like this. And I go to P for profile. Push that all the way to 1. What if we then do a extrude? Did not go as I expected. What's happening? Why is it? Oh, because I have a solidify modifier on, of course. Of course. Let's leave that for now. Deal with it the next time. Because we're gonna have to return to this. We're not gonna I'm not gonna be done by today. Looks like these could be probably just a cylinder, like a circle around a using a circle profile on a circle curve. Could just make that work for us. Because it doesn't have to align. It could be a separate mesh. As long as they are combined later on and the high poly is, or sorry, the low poly is following along perfectly fine, we should be all right in the baking process. So we could try this out. Let's grab this part. No, well, we're going to grab it, but we're also going to, let's see, where's my cursor? Looks like it's tilting a lot. That I don't like the rotation on the tilt, so I'm going to then add a circle, probably. No, we're not going to add a circle. We're going to add a curve circle. That's a different thing. And these are roughly the same thickness as other cylinders. So let's just use the same. This one? Seems like nothing happened. Why not? Because I'm using the wrong setting. There we go. I think that looks quite all right. So let's make sure it's where it should be. Say probably something like that. Yeah. Not sure how to do this part. We'll see. I might have to, well, could be as simple as just adding an extra bevel, or sorry, edge along this, an edge. Do I have any way to look at that? I don't. So yeah, I have an idea what to do with that, but we'll fix that in the next stream, I think. These details, right now I just want to make sure I have as much as possible of the base details in place, which I'm far from actually do. Need to do the handle, need to do that small arm. Is that what we usually call it? Is that what they call it on the on kettles? Or sorry, cups? It will be an arm, right? Or ear? I'm just translating. I think we call it ears in Sweden, or öra. So you're just translating that into English. Probably doesn't work. And let's just move you down. I just made a copy. Let's place you roughly in place. Probably have to move this entire thing in. So I might need to adjust both of these, or maybe not, because you have that top part. It's showing through slightly, but that might not be an issue. How about that? How does that look? Yep, that looks all right. I do believe we have the same details down here, so we can just copy these. That is going to be a challenge. I don't think I can do it the same way as I've done the others. What I need is an edge that makes the, we want to call it the circle, the ring, to stop at this point. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the edge I need. Sounds going on behind me. And kind of creepy now. It's getting close to midnight. Let's also leave that one for the next time. I do need some a bit more brain power. It's not going to be super complicated. I don't think it's going to be complicated. But right now, it's a bit too much for me. So let's leave it. We could focus on this, the apparatus on the inside. It's not really a good picture, is it? Do I have a better one? This is a better one. I mean, what is these things? Is this a way to slide this box in place? It looks like it is. All right, I'm going to make a decision that I'm a bit too tired to continue on the modeling for tonight. So I'm going to end that part here. So let's see if we can move over to our notepad. We need to make notes. Ah, there we go. All right, just a bit of water first. Let's see. Yeah, I did talk about those. So actually, I'm going to sure it's all set to done. There we go. We've started this one. It's the right button. There we go. So we started on the low poly or the base mesh placeholder. Let's see, model the, let's call it the base. It's not the proper. All details, let's call it that. I'll make it a work in progress. All right. Add more to this at some other point. Right. I feel my energy just dropped and not being particularly entertaining at this stage. So we're going to end. But I'm glad we got this far. And this is a new routine for me. The schedule. I've swapped over from 6 a.m. 9 a.m. my time, which worked kinda, but it was taking toll. I wasn't getting to sleep as I wanted to do, and I felt stressed out having to figure out to constantly every evening trying to push myself to go to bed. I'm not a early bird. I want to stay up a bit later. That's where I feel most comfortable. So going from the 6 a.m. now to 9 p.m. works a lot better for me. At least it did this evening. So I'm going to try it out for a few more months. So without further ado, I'm going to stop yapping. And if you like what you see here, please consider giving me a follow. And I also have a YouTube channel where I will be posting my VODs, but also a few other things. I have a few plans going on, a few projects. Mostly what I do here is that, well, for the past 3 weeks I've been modeling, but my main goal with this channel is to create a game. And I'm working on a personal project, which is a horror game. I might have another project that I will be doing with a few friends coming up. I'm going to ask them first if I have their permission to develop the game on stream. I think they will be all fine with that, but we'll see. We're just started, so there's no much more details that I can give at this stage. And I think that's it. So I hope everyone has a great day, whatever you are, evening, afternoon, morning. Have a good day, and I hope to see you on